Well, it's Saturday the 21st. I'm off today, and I'm just in the car waiting to go in and get my hair cut. I haven't been reading all that much. I'm starting to get a cold, if you could hear it in my voice, and just feeling a little drained. So I haven't read very much in The Last Policeman here by Ben H. Winters. I'm only on page 178, so I'm really hoping to move along with this one, hopefully today. I'm also listening to an audio book. I'd finished level 5, so I started another one, and this is the Colliding Worlds trilogy by Rachel Akkus. She's the author of the Deadland Saga, which is a zombie trilogy, which I absolutely highly recommend. I really love it. It's based on Dante's Divine Comedy. You can go figure. But it works, it really does. The Colliding Worlds trilogy is more of an alien invasion apocalypse. Apparently aliens have been on this planet for some time. There's two forces, the Shifians and the Drakens. The Shifians are gold-skinned beings with black eyes, and they're kind of the good guys. The Drakens are more the aggressors. They have these huge wings, and they had defeated the Shifians and enslaved them until they were able to rebel and fight back. And now a force of them are on planet Earth to sort of stop the progress of the Drakens through the solar system. But they've been undercover. No one's really known they were there until one young woman named Sienna, who's out in the woods, sees this, what she thinks is a plane crash near her, and it turns out it's a Shifian ship piloted by Legion, and another Draken ship comes to kind of attack. She kind of comes to Legion's aid. But of course, they don't want Earthlings to know that they're on their planet, so Legion takes her back to his mothership, as it were, which is kind of hiding a bit underground, and there she spends quite some time kind of getting to know them and actually getting to like them. Their leader is Apollo. This is something I had trouble with, because if I recall when I read it, I pronounced in my head Apollo and Legion, so hearing Legion and Apollo it's awkward in my head. But the story is pretty interesting, and the weapons that they fight against, and trying to form a truce between the humans and the Shifians, the good guys, is really difficult. But it's intriguing, and I'm enjoying it so far. Like I said, except for the narration is kind of bothering me with the pronunciation of words different from how I had it in my head. And also, there's certain things, certain aspects, it's like the voices that the narrator's chosen. Sienna has this sort of the southern accent, which is driving me nuts. And the aliens, basically the Shifians, because we don't hear the Drakens too much, but the Shifians have this French/Russian kind of accent, which I find very weird, because if their ship has been in the United States kind of hiding underground or whatever, any contact they would have heard you'd think would have been American type accents, yet they have this sort of French, pseudo-Russian, whatever kind of accent, and it just sounds weird to me. But it's okay. It's the story that's the main point. So I'm probably maybe a third to a halfway through book 1. I'm hoping to at least finish book 1 during the Apocalypsathon, and then I'll move on from there afterwards. Well, it's Monday the 23rd. I was supposed to be at work today from 12 to 8, but I called off because my head is just a horrible head cold going on. But I did manage to accomplish a few things today while I've been stuck at home. You've probably already seen it. I've uploaded a video of my favorite apocalypse movies. I also managed to finish my most recent read, which is The Last Policeman by Ben H. Winters. This one is the first of a trilogy of kind of apocalypse from space and asteroids heading to Earth. It's been known of its approach for quite some time, and now people know pretty much that in 6 months it's going to strike the world. And like the tagline in the back says, what would you do with just 6 months until the end of the world? apparently people fall into pretty much three camps. The first one goes bucket list, where you decide, hey, the world's going to end in 6 months. I've always wanted to go see this, or I've always wanted to do this, or accomplish this. And off they go, leaving behind, their professions or jobs, whatever, and they go off and do this. Second group are the hangers, which is sort of their term for people that commit suicide, generally from hanging. They're despondent, they see the end of the world coming, and they decide they're going to go out on their own terms and commit suicide. And then there's like a third group that just kind of plod on. They just say, well, they just take one day at a time, and when the end comes, it comes. They may eventually turn into one of those other two groups and decide, no, I'm going to go out my own terms, or like, screw this, I'm done doing this, and I'm going to go off and do what I wanted to do. But for at least this moment, they're kind of just plodding on with their lives. And our main character, Detective Hank Palace, is one of those people kind of just plodding on. He's continuing with his work as a police officer. Actually, he starts out as a police officer, something he's always dreamt of becoming, and within a short period of time on the force, he ends up becoming promoted to detective, because many people on the force have gone bucket list or, taken their own lives, so they need to fill these positions. And the story begins with him investigating a hanger. A man's found hung in a McDonald's, I think it's a restroom, and things just don't seem right. He starts to question whether it is a true suicide. He starts to get suspicions about things that he's seeing that leads him to believe it's a possible murder. And he starts this investigation. And I thought, this is a really interesting premise. That, the end of the world's coming, and this guy's investigating a murder. But it also fell apart because of that, to me. There are a lot of things I just didn't see working. Of course, as the story's going on, you see a lot of things that aren't working, literally. Cell phones, hit or miss with service, and various other things. But the way I see it is, I would see the infrastructure really falling apart fairly quickly, with the amount of people that would just say, fuck this, basically. I'm not going to work anymore. I'm not going to do this job. I'm going to go off and, see something or see my family. I personally would, try and find a way to get to my family in California, and so we could all be together, at least for those last 6 months. And I didn't see the world kind of even being able to sustain him going about his business of investigating a crime, or having a coroner still working, and just general day-to-day stuff. Yeah, sometimes his cell phone isn't working because cell phone towers or people aren't maintaining things, or the infrastructure starts to fall apart, but you don't get the amount that I would have expected. I mean, even just, food production and delivery, all that. Sometimes he goes out to a restaurant to eat. Well, who's still maintaining the restaurant? You still have waitresses, serving people. Why would they care? A lot of this just didn't seem plausible to me, so it made the book fall apart more easier for me, and I couldn't kind of get into it. Even though I really liked the main character, I liked Hank Palace, I liked that fact that he was still kind of plodding on and persevering in a way. I liked the way he looked at things, and the way he looked at the victim here, and how he even says, he goes into the guy's house, and he sees how he's a very methodical kind of person in his job as an insurance investigator, and how he's like even alphabetized to cereals. He's like, I like you, he's like, which is kind of quirky character, but I like the way he looked at things. I like the way he investigated, and I did like his character, but the story, the plot line just kind of fell apart on that basis of I couldn't see the world not falling apart faster with only 6 months to go, that people would still be doing the things that they were doing. It does speed up a little bit more towards the end, where you see things start to like shut down more, but I just had a harder time wrapping my head around this particular type of apocalypse and the way it was proceeding with the plot line, even though I wanted to like it more. So I do have book 2 already. I doubt I'm going to continue with the series, even though I am curious to see what it would be like when this does eventually reach. As the story is beginning, you don't really know where it's going to hit. You don't find that out till the end. And even if when we do, I still don't know the type of destruction or how bad it will be. Will it be like dinosaur kind of, wipe out all life, or not immediately wipe out all life, but then kill off plant life, which will then, reduce the food, and then eventually lead to the death of any kind of life on the planet, or will be imminent destruction from the impact. Don't really know all those details. at this point. I'm kind of curious about that, but I still just don't think I want to pick up the rest of the series. So a bit of a disappointment on that. I really wanted to like it more than I ended up liking it. So I'm going to move on now to how appropriate the way I'm feeling at the moment. I don't have it, but I'm going to read The 11th Plague. Just a cold, people, just a cold. But I guess I'll be more in the spirit of the thing. So I'm going to be reading this one next. This is a YA apocalypse. Don't know much more about it, and I don't really want to know much more about it. I saw the cover originally, and that's kind of what drew me into it. So I'm going to read this one. Before I actually start diving into it, I'm just going to polish this one off tonight. This is the latest omnibus, number 10 in the I Am a Hero zombie series. Well, I just got back from work, had a little bit of dinner, and now I'm going to go sit down and actually read I Am a Hero, which I didn't pick up at all yesterday. My cold was just wiped me out a bit, and didn't feel much like reading at all yesterday. I did find something really interesting at work today. Planet of the Apes. There's the author. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, I was really happy to find a copy, and it's like in mint condition. Hey Munchkin, did we just have a very strange walk? Huh? Yeah, so I just walked Skippy. She went to the corner, which is less than 100 yards from our house. 4 corners. She went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We did a whole lot of walking, got a whole lot of nowhere. But anyway, that's done. It's kind of chilly out, and I still got a really bad cold, so I'm looking to just stay inside the house all day and read. I just finished I Am a Hero this morning. This is the 10th volume, 10th omnibus, and I read in the back that there's an 11th one coming out, and that looks like it's going to be the finale, which is kind of good. I think it's time it wraps this sort of story up. It got very weird. I liked it a lot more in the beginning than I am now, but I'm not totally disliking it. It's just getting a little more bizarre than I expected. Let's put it at that. Anyway, I'm going to continue reading The 11th Plague by Jeff Hirsch. I am right about there. See the bookmark, which is about page 45. Hello. Up close and personal. The nightlife is very vocal out here tonight. As I wait for Skippy to finally pee so I can go to bed. Well, today's the 29th, although the 27th is when I finished my last 2 books for the Apocalypsathon. I just haven't had a chance to film yet. It's been kind of busy at work and everything, and the lighting's been awful because we've been just inundated with rain. I think yesterday we had 6 inches of rain. Already today, and it's only 8 o'clock in the morning, we've had 2 inches of rain. So I better start learning how to swim. Maybe the floods are coming. Anyway, one of the books I finished reading was Collision by Rachel Aucus. This is part 1 of the Colliding Worlds trilogy. This is an audiobook I was listening to. Part 1 as opposed to book 1. It sort of says both on Goodreads. The listing says book 1, but as you can see, the actual image says part 1, and that I think suits it because it's more of a part of a whole. It doesn't, in a way, to me, seem to stand on its own. There's too much left of that one beginning story that for it to stand on its own. It works better as a trilogy, I think, or hopefully will be. I haven't finished the other 2 books yet. I had originally read this first book almost a year to date, back in October of 2018, and I was looking back on my thoughts on the book at the time, and I think this pretty much still holds true. I do like Rachel Aucus's writing. I like her characters. You do get really attached to her characters. And my one main thought of this particular book was that the plot line just moved along way too fast. Sienna, our main character, is grieving over the loss of her husband. She's kind of living off in the woods on her own, some quiet time, and to just think on things, and suddenly finds herself in the midst of this alien battle between the Shifians and the Drakens as a ship's crash kind of nearby her, and to keep their presence on Earth secret, the Shifian pilot by the name of Legion takes her back to like the mothership, and there she spends I think it's like maybe 6 months or so, and she begins very quickly, it seems like, to think of these people as her friends, and kind of form a romantic bond with Legion. Things just steamrolled really fast in that beginning plot line, and I guess she just adapts very well to situations. But I mean, we're talking aliens on Earth, and they've been there for some time, but no one knows they're there, and so that whole plot line kind of steamrolls very fast, and soon she finds herself almost as like an ambassador between human government and the Shifians, trying to form a bond between them and a relationship between them to kind of go against the Drakens. The Drakens are more the aggressors. They had originally attacked the Shifian planet and enslaved the people. They rebelled, fought back, and the Drakens kind of started heading towards Earth, and the Shifians followed suit to try and stop them from colonizing another planet. And that's how they found themselves kind of stuck on Earth now, and this battle was kind of like going to be fought on Earth's soil. But it's not the apocalyptic book I was kind of hoping for, because nothing's really steamrolled yet. Nothing's sort of gotten in motion. Only a few people on Earth, within the Earth government and herself, are even aware that these aliens have been on the planet. So it's just a small little pocket so far of people that are aware of anything that's going on. There are stories of forming bonds and friendships, but there's also betrayals that she'll come to encounter that'll totally surprise her, and it totally surprised me, one particular one, and that one I had trouble with, and I won't go into more detail other than to say that I don't know, it just seemed too weird, just a little too far out there in how the two people involved kind of react to the situation and what happens in the end. Just seemed really off the chart. Where did this come from? I didn't see this plot line coming. So that kind of threw me for a bit of a loop. But I still want to finish the series and see how things kind of resolve, but it won't be for a little bit of time because more readathons are coming in November, and I'll have to set it, or October, and I'll have to set it aside. And the final book I finished was The 11th Plague. This is by Jeff Hirsch. It's a YA kind of post-apocalyptic. There's been some nuclear bombs off in the United States during a war with China, and China launched this kind of biological weapon called P11, which people have now referred to as the 11th Plague, because it killed off a large portion of population in the United States. And then came the collapse, where all the infrastructure, everything just sort of fell apart, and there's just pockets of people kind of struggling to survive, scavenging and trading and things like that. And there's groups of people called slavers that they try and kidnap people and put them to work for them and everything. And our main character, Steven, he's I think around 15 or so. I get the impression he's in his teens. I don't remember the exact age. Yeah, 15-year-old. Duh. It says it right on the back. But yeah, he's a 15-year-old, and at the beginning he's just him and his father, and they're burying his grandfather, a rather harsh man. Apparently he was different earlier on, but as things kind of got more and more difficult, he became more and more harsh, maybe in a way to try and keep his family alive, but he could be quite abusive and stuff. But anyway, Stephen doesn't know much more from before the collapse. He was born afterwards, so this is the world he's used to. And he and his father are kind of traveling, trying to, find some way of creating a living for themselves, scavenging and things like that. And they have a bad encounter with some slavers that leave his father seriously injured, and he ends up with some people in almost a little commune of a society they've kind of regenerated, and they're finding a way to live. But he's very skeptical of it. He's always been told, don't trust anybody, and so it's him trying to navigate himself in this world now with his father injured and not able to tell him, what to do, who to trust, and it was just really, really intriguing. They really depict the world very clearly, and I like the characters and the plot and the struggles that he works through, and I thought it was very, very well done. Anyway, that concludes my Apocalypsathon. Thank you guys for whoever joined with me, and I really appreciate all your comments down below, and it's been fun watching some of the videos that I've seen, a few people that have had some TBRs up there, and comments on Twitter and everything. So maybe I'll get a little more organized if I decide to do this again next year. Anyway, I'm going to be moving on to Victober, and I think there's a Spookathon too that I want to look into. So I have a very busy October plan, so I'll get my TBR up for those shortly. But again, thanks for joining and thanks for watching these videos, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Say bye, everybody.